In this Warframe guide, I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know about Focus and Focus schools, how the entire system works, which skills are the best for you, how to level them up, and of course, how to farm hundreds of thousands of Focus in just a few minutes. As always, a massive thank you to all my generous channel members who help me keep the lights on. And with that being said, let's jump right into it. Now, first of all, what are Focus schools even? Well, Focus schools are basically like skill trees for your operator or drifter, whichever one you choose to use, and each one contains multiple actively castable and passive skills. Some of them benefit your operator or drifter, some of them benefit only your Warframe, and some of them can be used for both. You unlock the Focus system at the end of the second Dream quest, however all skills per tree will only be unlocked after you finish the War Within. And one word about the second Dream quest after which you unlock the Focus system initially. At the end of the quest, you're told to choose one of 5 Focus schools that you want to start with. And this is an absolute joke because the description texts right there are so helpful for your choice, they might as well be written in Chinese. No, I mean, seriously, this junk right here does not tell you anything about the practical use of that actual Focus school, and that is what you're supposed to base your decision on. In case you haven't reached that point in your playthrough yet, my personal advice would be to start out with Xeneric because it gives you energy for the Warframe, but of course we'll get into more detail on all of this here in a second. Just one thing before, even if you pick the suboptimal Focus school in that quest, that's not a big deal because you can unlock all other Focus trees later on pretty easily. So while you're down there, give the video a like so the YouTube gods don't hate me. Cheers for that, by the way. Let's take a look at the actual Focus schools and their respective skills so you know exactly which one will be the best for you. This is the Focus school menu right here. You can either access it here in the back room of your orbiter, which itself will be unlocked during the second Dream quest, or alternatively, just right here directly in your arsenal. In this menu, we see all 5 Focus schools. If we choose to click one, then we can also see which skills this Focus school contains, as well as which of them we have already unlocked, and which levels they're currently on, indicated by those little dots below them. If we want to unlock a skill or upgrade a already unlocked one, we need Focus points to do so, which are the ones displayed right here, and they're sort of like experience points for those Focus trees right there. We're going to talk about how to best farm those Focus points here in a minute, but what you first need to know is this. When first starting out, you will only have the one Focus school active and available that you chose at the end of the second Dream quest. If you want to get the other ones, naturally, you'd have to go and unlock those locked Focus schools with Focus points for said school. The thing with Focus points is they are gained individually for every single school out there. For example, my Naramont school has around 1 million Focus points inside of it that can be spent on upgrades in the Naramont tree. Contrast that to my Xeneric, for example, which has 2 million Focus points in it that can be spent on here, which kinda doesn't make sense because I already unlocked everything here. And the sad thing is, these Focus points that you have in every individual school are exclusive to that school and cannot be transferred over to a different one. As already said, we're going to talk about how to farm Focus points efficiently here in a minute, but let's first take a look at the skills for a second. When you hover over them, you get a quick description of what they can do, who they're for, operator, Warframe, or both, if they're active or passive, and how often you can level them up, indicated by the dots below it. To unlock a new skill or upgrade a pre-existing one, you need to spend Focus points. Now, in mission, you only have access to these skills of the one Focus school that you previously set to your active one. You can set your active one here in the menu and switch as you please. However, there is one big and important exception to that rule, and that would be the skills called waybounds. Every Focus school has 2 waybounds. The game will show you which of these skills are your waybounds, indicated by the little symbol of the Focus school on top of here, or also it will show you the waybounds of all the other Focus schools that are previously not set to active here on the side. But now, what's so special about these waybounds? Now, in contrast to all other skills that are only usable when you set their respective focus school as your active one, waybounds can be unbound from their respective focus tree and will then always be available no matter which one is your active tree. You can see here on the side which ones you've already unlocked for the other trees. In order to unbind a waybound from its focus tree, you'll first have to upgrade it to its maximum level and then spend another Brilliant Eidolon shard and a ton of focus points to finally unbind them. So, all of this focus talk now begs one question. Which focus school is the best and which skills should you prioritize? Let's take a look at that now. Now, as I previously said, Zenerik is probably the best focus school for all players out there just starting out with focus. Its 2 waybounds help with your operator energy, increasing both your energy pool and your energy regeneration. Temporal Drag and Temporal Shot is a nice crowd control and buff combination. And in general, Zenerik is a great focus school for all those of you who struggle with their Warframe's energy economy or generally prefer to play a more Warframe-focused playstyle and only want to use their operator to buff up the Warframe but not to play with it themselves. I'd say your must-have skills in this tree are Energy Pulse and Wellspring because they both supply your Warframe with so much energy, it's really helpful in the mid-game, and then after you have those 2 at the maximum level, you can start focusing on the 2 waybounds. The next school I'd focus on after you're done with your Zenerik must-haves would be Naramon. Now, Naramon focuses more on your operator's speed and agility and uses them to assist your Warframe in melee combat by levitating enemies and, in general, giving buffs whenever you use your Warframe and operator in melee together. The big must-haves here are Power Spike and Affinity Spike. Power Spike is a passive for your Warframe, and what it does is, whenever your combo duration goes down to 0, you don't lose all of your combo counter, you just lose 5 of it, and then it ticks down from there, making it extremely easy to keep up the big 12x combo multiplier as long as you like when you're in melee combat. An Affinity Spike gives you more experience gain for your melee weapon from melee kills, making it great for XP farming. The rest in this tree is, I would say, up to your personal preference. Now, if you don't like playing melee all that much, then Madurai would also be a good choice as your second tree to focus on, because it is the #1 focus tree if you actually want to use your operator or drifter to fight in combat, making it also the go-to for Eidolon hunting. I'd say in this one there's no must-have skill, right? Everything is decently usable, especially for Eidolons, except maybe the bottom right. I don't think that's gonna be as important for that. Now, Vazarin is a very specific focus school. On the one hand, it makes your operator more survivable with Void Regen and Squad Regen, but also helps with reviving using Mending Soul. However, the real deal in this focus school is Protective Sling. This one is the ultra endgame survival skill in the game, making your Warframe completely invincible for 5 seconds after you Void Sling through them. Combine that with Rolling Guard, and now you know how to infinitely survive against enemies level 10,000. In general, Vazarin is more of a focus school for very late-game endurance-type players, I would say. And finally, Unairu has a lot of stuff that sounds really good on paper, but then might turn out to be not all that great in reality. First off, Magnetic Flare and Magnetic Boost are insta-skips for me, since we will never need to drain enemy shields because we'll always go for toxin damage against shielded enemies, which, as most of you probably know, bypasses shields entirely, so there's no need for these 2 skills. Then, Poise sounds very good on paper, right? No knockdown, kind of being the prime sure-footed without using that mod, but in reality, you usually don't see knockdowns coming ahead of time, which means you'd have to constantly spam transference in and out of your Warframe to keep this effect up, just in case, and if you ask me, that's really not gonna happen in reality. Caustic Strike is an armor strip for enemies, which again sounds really good, but if you're really up against enemies that are so strong that you really need to strip them of their armor, in order to do so, you'd probably rather go for Necros' Terrify infused via the Helminth system rather than using Caustic Strike. And then Reinforced Return and Stone Skin are actually good skills, however I would say they're not good enough to justify making Unairo your active focus school, because these are no way bounds, you have to have Unairo active in order to get them, and other schools really offer so much more here. The only real good ones here are Last Grasp and Vengeance, which happen to also be the waybounds, so we can just unlock them and skip the rest of Unairo completely. However, one thing you definitely don't want to skip are more helpful Warframe guides on this channel. So to make sure you'll never miss out on them day one, you might want to think about leaving the channel a sub. Welcome to the crew. But now, let's finally take a look at how to best farm the millions and millions of focus points that you'll need to unlock all the skills and focus trees that you want. When it comes to farming focus, there are currently 3 excellent ways to do so in the game: Focus Lenses, Deviri Circuit, and Eidolon Hunts. Let's start with the first one, Focus Lenses. Focus Lenses are the most prominent way to farm focus. Whenever one of your weapons or warframes has reached their maximum level of 30, you can install an item onto them called a focus lens. When equipped, the focus lens will then convert a certain percentage of the experience that equipment piece gains into focus for its respective focus school. And when I say convert into focus, what I really mean is you'll still get all of the XP for your equipment piece and then a certain percentage of that XP as focus for your focus school on top. You can obtain the basic focus lenses for all of the 5 schools, either from the bounties in the different open worlds, or you can buy them directly from the shop. These standard lenses then convert 1.25% of your XP gain into focus. But there are also improved versions of the focus lens that can convert more percent of your XP, as you see in the background right here, so let's take a look at them right now. In addition to the normal lenses that we just spoke about, there are also Greater lenses, Eidolon lenses, and Lua lenses. Each of them convert more XP into focus than the ones before. Greater lenses are crafted out of normal lenses with a blueprint that you can get from the market. However, this process is very slow and also expensive because only one single-use build blueprint costs already 200,000 credits, not even speaking of all the resources that you need. A better alternative to get greater focus lenses would be directly from the Zeraman bounties if you've done the new war quest already and have unlocked the Zeraman 10-0. The next ones would be Eidolon lenses that are also crafted in your foundry with the blueprint coming from higher level bounties in the Plains of Eidolon. Also, if you don't feel like farming, they can be traded between players and also be bought from the market directly. And finally, there are the best in slot ones, the Lua lenses. Lua lenses are only farmable from the Lua disruption mission called Apollo, and they're also only in rotation C. What that means, in a few words, is it will take very long to farm a lot of them. But gladly, these are also tradable between players if you don't want to farm. However, for some weird reason, they cannot be bought from the market directly. But now, after all this lens talk, how can we use our focus lenses to get the most focus out of them? First off, we want to, of course, ideally only use Lua lenses because they convert the most percentage of XP into focus. My personal tip here would be, just like when XP farming, use a nuke frame like Seren, Equinox, or Volt, go into Sanctuary Onslaught and put one Lua lens just on the frame. This right here would be my nuke Volt build that you see in the background right now, just as an example. The great thing about using a nuke frame is, since you only kill with your Warframe's ability, that means you only need one Lua lens on the Warframe itself, since, as we all know, if you only kill with a Warframe ability, all the experience gained from those kills will go completely to the Warframe. In contrast to if you were to use a weapon, then the experience gain would be split between the weapon and the Warframe, meaning you would have to have actually 2 lenses, one on the weapon, one on the Warframe, to make sure that you get the full focus outcome. So should you decide to farm your focus with lenses, then in order to save on your precious lenses, use the nuke frame variant so you only have to use one lens. But, and this is very important, don't randomly exchange your focus lens on your equipment, because if you unequip a focus lens from a weapon or Warframe, it breaks permanently, meaning you lose it. And yes, this is also exactly why I have 5 different vaults in my inventory, one for farming each focus school. All in all, I'd say this way of focus farming with lenses is theoretically the fastest, but it takes a lot of resources that you need to invest in order to get the focus lenses in the first place and to be set up. However, if you don't want to do that, and trust me, I would totally understand that, then you could of course also use method number 2, the Deviri circuit. In the circuit, you'll encounter loads of Thrax enemies. Every Thrax killed will give you 2,500 focus points for your currently active focus school on your operator or drifter. Now, that might not sound like much, but given how many Thraxes you'll fight in one circuit run, this will quickly add up and is generally a way more beginner-friendly and convenient way of focus farming than the lenses. Alternatively, you could also go and do the Zeramin bounties, since they also feature Thrax enemies, but in comparison, the circuit has way more of them and is therefore more efficient. And lastly, there would be the Eidolon hunts. Remember when we talked about the waybounds in the focus tree section before and I said you need an Eidolon shard to unlock them? Well, you can also go and transfer your Eidolon shards directly into focus points for a school of your choice. The higher quality the Eidolon shard, the more focus you will get, of course. However, I would say don't give away all your brilliant Eidolon shards, at least not before you've unlocked every waybound, because you need them to unlock the waybounds. So if you like Eidolon hunting anyway, that would be a great choice for you, but the special thing about the Eidolon shard method to gain focus is that your focus gain through it is not capped. See, what I haven't told you until now is you have a daily focus limit as to how much focus per day you're allowed to gain. How high that is depends on your mastery rank, and it will display right here once you enter the operator menu. Once you reach that daily focus limit, you can't gain any more via lenses or Thrax skills. However, the conversion from Eidolon shards into focus point still works beyond that. So keep that one in mind, just in case you ever need an extra little bit of focus at the end of the day. As you see, quite some options to farm there. However, I personally still think that the focus lens variant is the fastest one. And if you now want to know how you can use basically the same method to speed level any weapon or Warframe in just about 5 minutes to their maximum level, then you absolutely must check out my pro level guide right here. Again, a massive shout out to AkimboFade, NeilsV, Lamies, Doganium, Demon Lord Zell, and all other awesome channel members for your continuous support. We see each other hopefully in the next one, and until then, as always, good loot.